Diversity is the spice of life and a sure sign of good health. This is true whether we're talking about a landscape, a forest, or human society in general. The more variety, the better. This is certainly true in the compost pile, where the more the merrier. The plant world has a wide range of different kinds of plants with unique properties that can ensure that our compost piles will have just a wide range of these minerals and nutrients and microbes. And so we want to get as much different kinds of stuff into our compost pile. So the composting process then helps to release these minerals so they're available for the next crop. So the composting turns into a humus. You want your finished compost to not have traces of anything that you put in it, but just to be this black chocolate cake looking like stuff that just, oh my gosh, the plants just love it. 2,000 years ago, Cato taught that all of the things you're putting on your field should be composted first to digest them, so the soil itself didn't have to digest the raw materials. Plants have really strong root systems that gather lots of these minerals and elements that other plants need. Pennsylvania smartweed is a relative of buckwheat, which tells me that it's going to have a strong root system and also have plenty of that valuable calcium that our plants love. So we just pull up the plants, and any of this stuff right here is great stuff to just sprinkle on the compost pile. Look at all these molds and stuff. This is all beneficial fungal activity. Oh my goodness, that's so beautiful. Yeah, and so you can just shake it into your piles, because this is a fairly done pile, but then yeah, you just break them up and just layer the weeds right in there when you're making your pile, you know, and put your dirt and rotten hay and rotten leaves and manures and everything in, and when you mix them in. That's Pennsylvania smartweed there. This one here is a plant called, well, I used to call it wild basil. It's actually perilla. In Japan, they call it shiso, and they use this as a seasoning for sushi. So this plant, again, we pull it up, and yeah, get these strong root systems full of all kinds of goodies. And yeah, just put these into the compost pile. There's nothing wrong with any kind of weed going in there, but the stronger the plant, you know, this one has a big odor, so I think that has some kind of value, but I don't even know what it is. But it's not going to hurt anything, I know that much. Yeah, so this process then will help our compost have all these different things, and that's really valuable. A late summer garden is sure to have plenty of weeds. We like to use the real tall growing weeds for layering in the compost pile because the pith rots quicker than the outside, making tunnels, and this allows air to get into the center of the pile. One of the best ones that we have a lot of this time of year is pigweed, amaranth. But we also use ragweeds and lamb's quarters and any of the real tall growing late summer weeds. Here's a beautiful lamb's quarters plant that we could use in our composting. When it's young, we eat it. It's a relative of spinach. Sunflowers are a crop that's often grown just for the compost pile. The big stalks are perfect for layering into the pile. Another plant that's grown for composting is comfrey. So comfrey has lots of minerals in it, particularly calcium, which is great for the compost. The nickname for comfrey is knitbone, and that's because it's such a healing plant for broken bones. Pokeweed is an edible plant in the spring, and then has some medicinal qualities, and what a vigorous grower it is. I've seen these things get 10 or 12 feet tall, and I know then that it has lots of auxins and hormones that help plants grow. So we'll take this plant sometimes and chop it up and put it in water and let it ferment for a few days, maybe with some stinging nettle and other weeds, and make a potent brew that we can water our compost piles with. Fermenting or decomposing herbs in a specific way enhances their beneficial influences, elements, and microbial populations. In the biodynamic method, we make humus-like preparations with herbs. Because these preparations are already decomposed for a year, we only need a spoonful to add, homeopathically so to speak, to our compost piles. This is the plant yarrow that has been made into a humus-like product that now we're going to put a spoonful in this big compost pile, and it will help with potassium and sulfur in this pile to become more available to the crops. So I'm just going to put a spoonful of this in a hole right here. Kind of push it down in there, cover it back up a little bit, and the influence from this homeopathic treatment will ray out through the whole pile. When we want to work with iron and silica, we like a really nice plant called stinging nettle. And this plant here is just a jack of all trades. It's really a great plant. You know, in Europe, during the wars, after those wars, a lot of people lived on stinging nettle because it's 36% protein, so it's an amazing plant. And it makes a really interesting humus-like product that, you know, it's just kind of colloidal in nature. See how it kind of bounces back when I press it? Yeah, so this is a great preparation to put in a compost pile. When we want to have potassium and sulfur working, but also add a little calcium, we use the plant chamomile, which makes a nice preparation that we can then add to the compost pile. This preparation is made from the white oak tree bark. And look at that little white stuff in there. That's indicative of some really beneficial molds and things of that nature. This makes it good for preventing disease. This is a white oak preparation that we're going to put into the compost pile. We also make a preparation out of Equisetum arvens, the horsetail plant. It's got a lot of silica in it, and we make a tea out of it and then ferment it for a few weeks, and I like to add a little of that to the compost pile. The wonderful little dandelion plant has a deep taproot, which is bringing up all kinds of minerals and stuff. It's a very medicinal plant, good for your liver. We take the little dandelion flowers and make a preparation out of it that we add to the compost pile. This works with the elements potassium and silica. Well, we have one more river to cross, and that's taking the juice of valerian, and we fermented that a little bit, and we're going to put a small amount in this water here. It's about a gallon of water or so. And then we're going to stir that up real vigorously like we do other biodynamic preparations, going around one way for a little while, you know, and getting a nice little vortex, and then we kind of go back around the other way. And we'll stir that up for 10 or 15 minutes. And then we simply take some of it and pour it in, part of it into the hole that we've made there. And then, and I always like to cover these things up and keep those things in there. And then we just take the rest of it and simply sprinkle it over the pile like that right there. And this helps with the influences of phosphorus. Our compost is made with hay, which has a wide variety of weeds in it. And we also use the manures from the cattle, which have eaten a lot of weeds. And then we add a little soil and all of these weeds and herbs and stuff that we like to put in our compost piles to keep our gardens growing vigorously and healthy. When we have this wide mixture of things in the compost pile, the plants have the availability of a wide array of nutrients. That way the plants can grow naturally, the way Mother Nature intended. the fertilizers in the future won't be chemicals, but they'll be compost made of ingredients like yarrow and chamomile and nettle and oak bark and dandelion and valerian. And this will ensure that nature has its way.
For inspiring garden tours, growing tips, and garden projects, visit our website at volunteergardener.org or on YouTube at the Volunteer Gardener channel, and like us on Facebook.